Welcome to the unboxing of the CD version of Black Sabbath's Anno Domini 1989 through 1995. This is a companion to the vinyl video that I dropped a couple of days ago, but today is the actual worldwide release date. And on my doorstep when I arrived home this afternoon was said box set. The initial unboxing video I did was simply about the vinyl. I have never seen those 4 releases pressed to vinyl, so it was simply opening up, looking at the memorabilia that came with it, and kind of waxing a little bit on Black Sabbath, its history, questions as to why certain releases weren't happening. But on this one, we will do the same thing. We will unbox, we will look at the CD and the booklet and everything with it, but with it comes a little speculation. So if you are along for the ride, please feel free to speculate with me, leave your comments, talk to each other, whatever you got to do. But I think some of you may feel the same way I do, and others of you, probably more knowledgeable or less knowledgeable, will think I'm just a raving lunatic. But anyway, let's get into it. Black Sabbath Anno Domini 1989 through 1995 hype sticker, smaller version obviously of the one that's on the vinyl set. Gonna pop it open here. So what we have here, we have, well, let's check here. Yeah. Okay. So just like the vinyl version, this overlay to kind of let you know, one, in packaging, it protects the back because the back tends to be going against things. But two, the Made in Germany sticker here is not on the outside. Stuff like that makes it kind of like this beautiful little standalone artifact, which is really nice. And what we get on this and what we read on the box here, 4 CD Super Deluxe, 3 original albums, we know those, with Headless Cross, Tire, and Cross Purposes. And then of course the newly remixed Forbidden, which sounds so good, so good. I was listening to it in my pickup truck on the way home today, streaming it through Spotify. Sounded fantastic. We also get a 1989 Headless Cross tour replica concert book. On the vinyl version, it is actually true to size as the concert book was available on that tour. This one will probably be smaller, obviously because the box is smaller. It is a 60-page book with photos, artwork, and liner notes. The vinyl, if I remember right, was 40. Reason being, obviously, the same amount of information, but in a smaller form, hence 20 more pages. And of course, a Headless Cross poster. Now, I didn't measure the poster. If you look at it on my previous video, to me it looks 20 by 30, maybe a little bit bigger, or 24 by 30, 24 by 36 maybe. But it is a nice size poster, big poster. This one, I'm gonna guess, is probably a little bit smaller. I haven't watched any, really sat down and watched the unboxing videos. The one that was done by Rhino was done by this guy. And honestly, as I might be doing to you now, his voice got on my nerve a little bit. He is a little bit animated. But anyway, so let's get into the box here. And you're almost there. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Oh, I like that. Very nice. Be able to pull it out. That was not in the vinyl set, or at least I didn't see it. Look at that. The singles. Fantastic. But what am I seeing here? What am I seeing here? We are not. Now, that is a difference. On the vinyl version, in their booklet, there was the last pages were all the songs with the lyrics. So all the lyrics were there, and it did this. It did the references, went through the singles, but when you got here, you have all the lyrics. Now, I don't know what the CD is going to hold. We'll find out in a moment. This is simply all the song titles, credits, that plus with the CD box set, you get 3 bonus tracks. You get Cloak and Dagger, which will be at the end of Headless Cross. We get What's the Use at the end of Cross Purposes, and Loser Gets It All at the end of Forbidden, which bonus tracks are nice, without a doubt. I'm kind of with Lemmy on this when it comes to bonus tracks and stuff. Bands tend to pick album closers for a reason. And like Kiss of Death perfectly closes out Forbidden. And honestly, perfectly closes out Tony Martin's time with Black Sabbath. It's amazing. But Loser Gets It All, I've already heard the track. It's a fun track. I like it. It's just a quick little rocker. And that's it. So we don't get the lyrics in here. Maybe they'll make up for it on the subsequent inlay CDs. Here we do have the replica, a smaller version of the tour program from the Headless Cross Tour. And it is essentially the same thing that you get, page for page, note for note, the same thing you get with the vinyl version. Really cool. Jeff Nichols, of course, as I stated in the last one, does not get enough love or attention, not from the Black Sabbath community, but honestly from those pesky critics. And here is the Black Sabbath poster. Now the other one, borderless. Okay, so this one's borderless as well. And it is, it is a little smaller, without a doubt. You see it right there. It's a little smaller. We'll take here's a CD cover for reference. So it's a little smaller than the one that comes in the vinyl box set, but of nice size. It is a nice size poster. And it's a lovely poster. Suitable for framing, as they say. Okay, so we will move on. And now we come to the CDs. The first being 1989's The Headless Cross. As I said in the last video, I will not be trying to do a review because that's useless at this point. There are audio files to it I am not, that can tell you the differences and stuff like that, and like the recording and stuff. It is obvious the difference when you listen to Forbidden, but as in remasters and stuff, I can definitely tell that I'm listening to a remaster and listening to something that sounds better and sometimes richer than the original recording. That being said, I could not tell you the elements. I'm just not an audiophile. I'm just a guy who loves music. But anyway, here it is inside here. No lyrics, just one of those little, which is nice. At least it's not just sitting willy-nilly in the cardboard, so that's nice. We're going to get to the comparison in just a moment. We're just going to look at these real quick. That way, if you want to see what's in it and you're done with the review, you can bow out of the video. I won't hold you hostage. And here's tier, whatever you say, and disc 2. So these are numbered, which is nice, I guess. Just in case you didn't know what order to play them in. But very nice, yeah. I like that. Tier. These are basically just album replicas. And then here's Cross Purposes, which is, as I stated in the other one, is my favorite Sabbath album with Tony Martin. Was very important to me. Not just is such a brilliantly fantastic album, but it also spoke to me deeper and more personal than any of the other Sabbath releases. So I have an emotional attachment to it. Because of the remaster release, a lot of these albums have popped up for sale. However, I will not be selling mine, at least not for the time being. And I'll tell you why in a moment. I think it will be quite obvious to any collector out there. And here is the final album, Forbidden. Loser Gets It All as a bonus track. Remixed. Again, the remix sounds fantastic. I really, really love the sound on this. Great band. I hate that Forbidden was the last offering from this lineup. But Tony definitely, what he did with the remix, you are anybody who had a gripe with the album, and I'll tell you this: Ernie C did his mix. It was what it was. I won't say bad. I will say problematic. That being stated, however, Tony's remix is phenomenal. But people were saying, and I would say fans too, were saying that the album was bad. I think the songwriting is still strong on there. I think there are some fantastic tracks on there. The Illusion of Power, Ice-T does a great job within it. Get a Grip, the single was fantastic. I Won't Cry For You, one of their best ballads. Rusty Angels, definitely I would say my favorite track off of it. Rusty Angels, Guilty as Hell, and the title track are just all terrific songs. And I thought it was a solid album. Again, just problematic production. But trust me, if you haven't heard it yet, Tony has fixed that problem. Now, what we're going to get into now is comparison. These have already been on CD. They've been out of print for a while, but they have been on CD. So here is the original booklet in this for the CD of The Headless Cross. And we get all the lyrics. Everything's there. Yeah, you get the catalog, IRS records, all of that. And there is the front album cover. It's all there. It's all there. But not in here. It kind of reminds me of the Queensryche Revolution Calling set. It, however, did not have sleeves for each disc. It was just the CDs were thrown in these cardboard discs. No booklet. Whereas if you bought the CDs individually, you got these beautiful liner notes and write-ups and images like we did in the Anno Domini book. You get shortchanged, you get the box set, but you don't get everything that would come with an individual release, which is something we may see. Here's a tier, whatever you like. And again, what do we get in here? I think, yeah, we get the lyrics. That is just reaffirming what's already on the back of the album. And yeah, everything right there. Here is Cross Purposes. We open it up and again get lyrics. Everything's there. Get the write-up, credits, all that. Boom, IRS. And then we get to Forbidden. Now, with Forbidden, they kind of did something. Take a look at this. With Forbidden, they decided what you get here, that is the cover. So that goes to the back. That goes to the back. So instead of just, yeah. So I guess they wanted you to get the artwork and they didn't want to spend any more money on printing out a booklet or anything. Which is goofy. This is how it was originally released. This is the re-release or the remaster. You again get all the lyrics. Right up, there is the IRS recordings. Now, so that's my little thing about the comparisons between the original pressings and the remasters. Love it or hate it, that's what it is. Now, that being stated, and let's put these up. That being stated, my friends, I have something else for you here. These 4 albums, we have the Eternal Idol here, which this is through Sanctuary, which is Castle Records. We're going to keep that in mind. BMG RCA, and we have the subsequent CDs here. But this is the one I wish to talk about, and it is the Sabbath Stones. This was a collection of Sabbath songs post Ozzy, and it was released through IRS. So we would assume, being IRS, that this is a best of as related to the 4 albums we're looking at. But this best of is interesting. There's a little write-up on Sabbath here. There are the albums that they talk about, including Dehumanizer, interestingly enough, which was a reprise album. And look at this track listing. Headless Cross, When Death Calls, we're getting there, but then we get to TV Crimes. TV Crimes. Okay. Well, we know that is a Dio Dehumanizer song. So what's going on there? And then we get back up here and boom, we're back in it. We're Virtual Death, Evil Eye, Kiss of Death, Guilty as Hell, all the way down. Loser Gets It All, which, you know, that's why I know the song so well, because it was on this set. But then we get to Disturbing the Priest. Ian Gillan singing for Black Sabbath off the Warner Brothers release of Born Again. Then we get to Heart Like a Wheel from Seventh Star featuring Glenn Hughes on vocals. Again, a Warner Brothers release. And the album rounds out with The Shining, the first song and the single from the final Warner Brothers release, The Eternal Idol. So what is going on? How are these songs on here? Okay? How are these songs on here? Well, this was released in 1996. Why does that matter? In 1996, that was a year after Forbidden had come out. So IRS knew that they were under the gun on here. And there's a reason why. We all know that they got back together with Ronnie James Dio, who thought it was going to be a lasting thing, had rejoined for Dehumanizer. They had already booked a show in Los Angeles for the Dehumanizer tour, and then Tony Iommi came up and said, hey, we're going to open for Ozzy, and Dio's like, there is no way we're opening for Ozzy. Not just I'm Dio and I replaced him, he has talked so much crap about you and about me. Why would we want to do this? That it had anything and everything to do with money. Paying attention to the stories of what Iommi was going through, he was having money problems. So he and Geezer saw it as a serious payday. Bill Ward jumps back on and boom, they do a tour. They actually announced the tour at the Los Angeles show. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine being Ronnie James Dio? You decide, I'm going to give in and I'm going to open for Ozzy. And then while you're standing there thinking, we have reformed and this is Sabbath now, for them to look at the crowd and go, we're getting back together with Ozzy. How that would have looked on Ronnie. Ronnie knew it was coming. And he knew that it was a more valuable proposition for not just Tony and Geezer, but for Bill as well, that they get back together with Ozzy, because that's what everybody clamors for, because everybody lives in the world of nostalgia. They don't live in the world of better, they live in the world of nostalgia, what they remember, what they think. I am a cat who believes that Black Sabbath went from good to great when Ozzy was gone and they brought in Ronnie James Dio. And we get Heaven and Hell, and we get Mob Rules. Then we get a couple of missteps, though good missteps they were. A Black Sabbath album without Ozzy, featuring any other singer, a Black Sabbath album is like pizza. When it's good, it's really good, and when it's bad, it's still pretty good. Still okay. And with Seventh Star and with Born Again, those were obvious missteps, but there was no misstep when it came to the Eternal Idol and bringing in the unknown Tony Martin. And Tony Martin being a consummate vocalist, being somebody they could depend on, being somebody without diva attitude who could really do justice to the Dio era songs. I don't think Tony sounds anything like Dio. People say he does, but it's the same kind of people that say that Brian Johnson sounds like Bon Scott. I don't get that comparison either. What I do know is that Tony Martin has the pipes to handle Dio's stuff. And he sounds great doing Dio. And I should have I left at the studio my Cross Purposes VHS CD. I should have brought that in. But on that Cross Purposes tour, they open up with a Dehumanizer song, and Tony Martin kills it. I mean, it sounds fantastic. It really does. So I think when Tony Iommi hired Ronnie Dio, I think he found a singer to go in a direction he truly wanted to go in, because the first thing they wrote together was a song they could not have done with Ozzy, which was Children of the Sea. They could not have done that with Ozzy. Ozzy, when he does ballads, and you can think about whatever ballad you want, Mama, I'm Coming Home, So Tired, all that crap, he is annoying on a lot of his ballads. Really annoying. He's got an annoying voice. As a rocker, he's got a great voice. But as a ballad singer, no. No. If it weren't for the effects used on the song Planet Caravan, that would have been terrible. But I digress. We have a compilation album from IRS Records featuring songs on the Warner catalog. What the only way that they could get to do the reunion with Ozzy, which wasn't even the last reunion. This was the first reunion since the first real reunion they had done since they had broken up years before. They had to sign away their rights to the name Black Sabbath. And of course, they signed it away to she-devil herself, Sharon Arden Osbourne. Inevitably, when it fell apart with Ozzy, because Ozzy was, always has been, and will die a Tool, when it fell apart and Tony wanted to carry on, he could not carry on as Black Sabbath. How they did not see that coming is beyond me. Maybe they just didn't want to see it coming. But anyway, they subsequently get back together with Ronnie James Dio. Now, it must have already been a thing for Tony, and I haven't gotten to Tony Martin, and I haven't gotten to that in the book, and we'll get to that because I will continue reading those chapters, and I have subsequently gotten one of the 2 magazines I've ordered that are dedicating covers and huge articles to the Tony Martin era. It must have been just a mind freak when the thing falls apart with Dio because of the Ozzy Osbourne thing, and Tony Martin gets the call that, hey, we would like you to come back. And Tony Martin, like, yeah, okay. But to be fair, when Tony Martin got the call from Tony Iommi, supposedly it was just to write material. Kind of like the Hughes Iommi stuff. Like Glenn Hughes and Tony Iommi have done a couple of albums outside of Seventh Star, and they're really good albums. So supposedly, hey, we'll just write some songs together and do this. But the record label said, hey, we still have the name or whatever. Why don't you put it under Black Sabbath? In 94, we got Cross Purposes. So we got 2 more albums out of them. And then eventually they just called it a day. Because a couple of years later, there is the Ozzy Osbourne thing. And they lose the Black Sabbath name. And they have the quick little reunion. And they release the greatest hits. And the live album and the new songs, and it just went nowhere. Again, in 2010, they got together with Ozzy because they had gotten together with Dio, and they were like, we're going to do Black Sabbath, but we're going to have to call ourselves something else, so it's Heaven and Hell. Everybody knew who it was, but, Sharon had the name, so they had to go under Heaven and Hell, which makes all the sense in the world. Subsequently putting out 2 live albums and a studio album, The Devil You Know, which was phenomenal. And they get back together with Ozzy. They do the 13 album, which I did not care for. I thought it was a lame album. The God Is Dead single came out in 2013, and I was like, yeah, that's about right. And to me, it's almost like taking a step back when it comes to like song structure and songwriting to accommodate Ozzy. And they were supposedly going to do another album. Of course, because Ozzy is Ozzy, it fell through. Can't say why. I really don't know at this point. Now, I know they put out that album, The End, which was like live cuts, and it had some studio cuts from the 13 sessions. But around 2017, they just called it a day. They were just like, we're not Black Sabbath anymore. We're done. Tony had already been talking about, once kind of all this is done, once like we've done the final tour with Ozzy, and you know, at this point Ronnie had already passed away, Tony Iommi was talking about doing proper remasters of the Tony Martin era. With Tony's advanced age, I mean, look how old Tony Martin is, and he was the young guy coming in. I highly doubt that they will do any touring, but it would be lovely if they could write some material, release some material together. I know they've done an interview. I haven't seen that interview. And they would probably do it under the name Anno Domini, because anybody who would care knows about this. So anyway, that's my speculation, and I hope you enjoyed the unboxing. I plan on chaptering this so you can avoid my little goofy rant at the end. And thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great weekend. Really, thanks for tuning in. Means the world to me, guys. Y'all take care. Later.